Truckers, Part 10. Go to the stationery or go outside, the Duke had said, meaning that he didn't see a lot of difference between the two. And there was no doubt that the other great families distrusted the stationery, who they reckoned had strange and terrifying powers. After all, they could read and write. Anyone who can tell you what a piece of paper is saying must be strange. They also understood Arnold Brothers, established 1905's, messages in the sky. But it is very hard to meet someone who believes you don't exist. Maskelyne had always thought that Torrit looked old, but the abbot looked so old that he must have been around to give time itself a bit of a push. He walked with the aid of 2 sticks, and a couple of younger gnomes hovered behind him in case he needed support. His face was a bag of wrinkles, out of which his eyes stared like 2 sharp black holes. The tribe clustered up behind Maskelyne, as they always did now when they were worried. The abbot's guest hall was an area walled with cardboard near one of the lifts. Occasionally one went past, shaking down some dust. The abbot was helped to his chair and sat down slowly while his assistants fussed around him. Then he leaned forward. "Ah," he said. "Delicatessen, isn't it? Invented anything lately?" "Not lately, my lord," said Dorcas. "My lord, I have the honour to present to you—" "I can't see anyone," said the abbot smoothly. "Must be blind," sniffed Granny. "And I can't hear anyone either," said the abbot. "Be quiet," Dorcas hissed. "Someone's told him about you. He won't let himself see you." "My lord," he said loudly, turning back, "I bring strange news. The store is going to be demolished." It didn't have quite the effect Maskelyne had expected. The stationary priests behind the abbot sniggered to themselves, and the abbot permitted himself a faint smile. "Dear me," he said, "and when is this terrible event likely to occur?" "In 21 days, my lord." "Well then," said the abbot in a kindly voice, "you run along now, and afterwards tell us what it was like." This time the priests grinned. "My lord, this is no time to—" The abbot raised a gnarled hand. "I'm sure you know a great deal about electricity, Dorcas, but you must know that every time there is a grand final sale, excitable people say, 'The end of the store is nigh.' And, strangely enough, life goes on." Maskelyne felt the abbot's gaze on him. For someone who was invisible, he seemed to be attracting considerable attention. "My lord, it is rather more than that," said Dorcas stiffly. "Oh? Did the electricity tell you?" said the abbot mockingly. Dorcas nudged Maskelyne in the ribs. "Now," he said. Maskelyne stepped forward and put the thing down on the floor. "Now," he whispered. "Am I in the presence of community leaders?" said the thing. "About as much as you ever will be," said Dorcas. The abbot stared at the box. "I will use small words," said the thing. "I am the flight recording and navigation computer. A computer is a machine that thinks. Think, computer, think. See the computer think. I use electricity. Sometimes electricity can carry messages. I can hear the messages. I can understand the messages. Sometimes the messages go along wires called telephone wires. Sometimes they are in other computers. There is a computer in the store. It pays humans their wages. I can hear it think. It thinks, no more stores soon, no more payroll, no more accounts. The telephone wires, they say, is that Grimethorpe Demolition Company? Can we discuss final arrangements for the demolition? All stock will be out by the 21st. Very amusing, said the abbot. How did you make it? I didn't make it, my lord. These people brought it here. Which people? Said the abbot, looking straight through Masklin. What happens if I go and pull his nose? Whispered Granny in a hoarse whisper. It would be extremely painful, said Dorcas. Good. I mean, extremely painful for you. The abbot rose hesitantly to his feet. I am a tolerant gnome, he said. You speculate about things outside, and I do not mind. I say it is good mental exercise. We wouldn't be gnomes if we didn't sometimes allow our minds to wander. But to insist that it is real, that is not to be tolerated. Little tricksy toys. He hobbled forward and brought one stick down sharply on the thing, which buzzed. Intolerable! There is nothing outside, and no one to live in it. Life in other stores? Pah! Audience concluded. Off with you. I can stand an impact of 2,500 tons, said the thing smugly, although no one took much notice. Away! Away! Shouted the abbot, and Masklin saw that he was trembling. That was the strange thing about the store. Only a few days ago, there weren't that many things you needed to know, and they mainly involved big, hungry creatures and how to avoid them. Fieldcraft, Torrit had called it. Now it was beginning to dawn on Masklin that there was a different sort of knowledge, and it consisted of the things you needed to understand in order to survive among other gnomes. Things like, be very careful when you tell people things they don't want to hear, and the thought that they may be wrong makes people very angry. Some of the lesser stationery ushered them hurriedly through the doorway. It was done quite expertly, without any of them actually touching Masklin's people or even looking them in the face. Several of them scattered hastily away from Torrit when he picked up the thing and held it protectively. Finally, Granny Morky's temper, which was never particularly long, shortened to vanishing point. She grabbed the nearest monk by his black robe and held him up inches in front of her nose. His eyes crossed frantically with the effort of not seeing her. She poked him violently in the chest. Do you feel my finger? She demanded. Do you feel it? Not here, am I? Indigenous, said Torrit. The monk solved his immediate problem by giving a little whimper and fainting. Let's get away from here, said Dorcas hurriedly. I suspect it's only a small step between not seeing people and making sure they don't exist. I don't understand, said Grimmer. How can people not see us? Because they know we're from outside, said Masklin. But other gnomes can see us, said Grimmer, her voice rising. Masklin didn't blame her. He was beginning to feel a bit unsure too. I think that's because they don't know, he said, or don't believe we really are outsiders. I ain't an outsider, said Torrit. They're all insiders. But that means the abbot really does think we're from outside, said Grimmer. That means he believes we're here and he can't see us. Where's the sense in that? That's gnomish nature for you, said Dorcas. Don't see that it matters much, said Granny grimly. Come 3 weeks and they'll all be outsiders. Serve 'em right. They'll have to go round not looking at themselves. See how they like that, eh? She stuck her nose in the air. Excuse me, Mr. Abbot. Went and tripped over Hugh there. Didn't see Hugh, I'm sure. I'm sure they'd understand if only they'd listen, said Masklin. Shouldn't think so, said Dorcas, kicking at the dust. Silly of me to think they would, really. The stationery never listened to new ideas. Excuse me, said a quiet voice behind them. They turned and saw one of the stationery standing there. He was young and quite plump, with curly hair and a worried expression. In fact, he was nervously twisting the corner of his robe. You want me? Said Dorcas. I wanted to talk to the, outsiders, said the little man carefully. He bobbed a curtsy in the direction of Torrit and Granny Morky. You've got better eyesight than most, then, said Masklin. Yes, said the stationery. He looked back down the corridor. I'd like to talk to you. Somewhere private. They shuffled around a floor joist. Well, said Masklin. That, thing that spoke, said the stationery. Do you believe it? I think it can't actually tell lies, said Masculine. What is it exactly? Some kind of radio? Masculine gave Dorcas a hopeful look. That's a thing for making noise, Dorcas explained. Is it? Said Masculine, and shrugged. I don't know. We've just had it a long time. It says it came with gnomes from a long way away, a long time ago. We've looked after it for generations, haven't we, Torrit? The old man nodded violently. My dad had it before me, and his father before him, and his father before him, and his brother at the same time as him, and their uncle before them, he began. The stationary scratched his head. It's very worrying, he said. The humans are acting very strangely. Things aren't being replaced in the store. There's signs we've never seen before. Even the abbot's worried. He can't work out what Arnold Brothers established 1905 expects us to do. Sir, he bunched up on his robe, untwisted it hurriedly and went on. I'm the abbot's assistant, you see. My name is Gerda. I have to do the things he can't himself, so, Well, what? Said Masculine. Could you come with me? Please. Is there food? Said Granny Morky, who could always put her finger on the important points. We'll certainly have some sent up, said Gerda hurriedly. He backed off through the maze of joists and wiring. Please, follow me. Please.